Hi guys to everyone, welcome back in Pause and Rock. Today we have a legend from the new wave of British heavy metal. We have Robb with us from Tygers of Pan Tang. It's an honor, even just the name, say everything, it's okay, we can finish the interview. First of all, Robb, how are you? And thank you for being with us. It's an honor, really.
I'm very well. Thank you very much indeed for asking me to do this. I'm always delighted, and it's always a very welcome and fantastic experience. Speaking to lovely people like yourself, and of course, all the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah, it's amazing. Of course, your band, I think, like I said before, the name speaks for itself. Everyone that is really inside the new wave British heavy metal, and especially just the beginning. So we're speaking about 1978, 1980, something like that. We're speaking about the beginning of basically of the heavy metal. So I want to ask you how it was back then. So, of course, I want to ask how you decided how Tygers of Pan Tang started, but put it the band inside that what was happening all around, because there was moving about the new wave of British heavy metal at the period. So it was about that period.
Like the start of the band, as it were.
Yes, sure, of course.
Yeah, okay. I started playing guitar probably when I was about 12, I guess. My dad brought in an old nylon strung Spanish guitar from a junk shop, which had an army camouflage paint job on it, so it didn't look like a Spanish flamenco guitar at all. And he said, I just saw this in the shop, and I was passing the window, and I just wondered, whether you want to, bash about with it. So I said, yeah, great. And I actually started to play it left-handed, and I thought, because I didn't know how to hold it, I something brand new to me. And I thought, crikey, this is really uncomfortable. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get on with this. And then I was watching the guitar players. I can't remember who it would be on Top of the Pops that night on the TV. And of course, they're all, strumming away on the guitars. And I thought, maybe if I turn it around the other way, it might be. And of course, being right-handed, not left-handed, it was perfect. And I thought, oh, right, this is the right way to do it. So I started playing along with it with the television. And for the life of me, I can't think who. In 71, I was 12 in 71. So maybe it was the Hollies or something, or crikey, I don't know. And I started to try and find a note, just one note that would correspond to one note on this guitar that I had. And long story short, that's kind of how I sort of taught myself and started to play. And I'm still learning.
We'll never end to know, to knowledge.
No, I'm sure one day I'll learn how to play it properly.
No, you're good. Believe me, the name says everything. Doesn't have to introduce and something else. And coming back, you were saying about the band,
Yeah, that was the start of me actually playing, and then I started writing. I started writing songs. Probably a couple of years later, my dad took me to a big guitar wholesalers, not a shop like a wholesalers that sell to shops. I don't know how he knew about this place. And off we went, and I had my eyes well and truly fixed on this black Les Paul guitar, which I'd seen people on Top of the Pops playing, and I thought, that's what I've got to have, and started playing it, a bit more seriously, and as I say, writing songs. with nothing else to do but just to write them for me and just to perform them in front of the mirror, really. I had no aspirations of a band at that particular time. But from the age of 14, I started to go to our quite a famous music venue in Newcastle, which unfortunately is no longer there, the Mayfair. And so every Friday night there was a huge touring rock band. There were the likes of Uriah Heep and Sammy Hagar and UFO and Ozzy Osbourne and all sorts of people touring. And I just thought to myself, I'd quite like to do that. It's
coming to be there as well.
Yeah, and standing, I always managed to squeeze my way down to the very front of the stage, getting squashed by nearly 2,000 people behind me, and it was just a magical, unbelievable experience, which made me want to go home and pick my guitar up and learn it even more. And I put an advert in the local newspaper for a bass player and a drummer. Not a drummer straight away, but certainly a bass player. And within an hour, the phone rang. In days, of course, when we didn't have mobile phones, it was just a regular telephone. It rang, so I think my mum answered it, and she said, I think it's for you. And this voice on the other end of the phone said, "Hi, my name's Richard. I've seen your advert. I'm a bass player, and looking to jam some songs and see what happens." And I said, "Hey, great." He said, "I'm at university in Newcastle, and on my course, there's a lad who plays drums. Shall I bring him along as well?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I organised a rehearsal space in a local church hall, and the three of us met, and we played some covers of the day, some AC/DC and Motorhead and Rush, some Ted Nugent, all the stuff that I loved. And I also said to Richard, aka Rocky, and Brian, "I've written some songs. Do you want to have a try of these?" And they said, "Oh yeah, it's." So I shared them, and they said, "This is great. This is where we want to be, doing stuff like this." So that was kind of the birthplace of the band. Now, of course, the band didn't have a name, and we were sat. I was sat with Rocky in his parents' lounge. We were having a very important meeting, dreaming about world dominance with this little rock and roll band that we had, and how we were going to, there we are, we're back. How we were going to, take over the world. But of course, the band needed a name, so I suggested Achilles' heel, and I don't know why. And he said, "What about Tygers of Pan Tang?" And I said, "That's absolutely brilliant. Where on earth have you got that from?"
Yeah.
Now, Rocky used to read fantasy science fiction books.
Okay.
And one of the books that he'd read was a book called Stormbringer by an author called Michael Moorcock, who was a very famous fantasy science fiction writer. And he said, in the story, this part of the storyline, this emperor lived in his kingdom, and to get to invade him, to get into his kingdom, he had to come past the cliffs of Pan Tang. And the emperor had these cliffs guarded, not with dogs, but with attack tigers. So he said, I just kind of put it all together, Tygers of Pan Tang. And I said, well,
that's it.
Absolutely, that's the one. So we decided upon that, and his mum very kindly donated a white double bed sheet. Now you're probably thinking, what on earth has that got to do with anything? So we got some black dye and we put it in the washing machine and we dyed it black. And we got some yellow. It's called Fablon in the UK. It's like you can line your drawers with it. It's colour one side and it's sticky on the other side.
Okay, yeah.
So it sticks down. And we got some of this like big sheets of this yellow sticky double, kind of material, and we drew out the name Tygers, but we decided to spell it with a Y just to be different. Why not? Well,
of course.
And his mum very kindly cut all the letters out for us and stuck them on this black sheet, and that was our very first backdrop, which was quite novel back then, because there's not a lot of bands. Touring bands had backdrops, never mind just a local band that nobody had any idea who we were. But we kind of said to ourselves, well, let's get it out there. Let's wherever we play, we'll put up the name of the band, because I think people are going to have not a problem saying the name of the band, but maybe remembering it. So if you've got the name behind you, there's no mistaking who you're watching. So and that was the start of it. We advertised for a singer, and we kind of held an audition. Two people turned up. The first lad that turned up looked a bit like John Lennon, but he didn't have any equipment, so he didn't have like a little sound system to sing through. And we didn't. And the second lad that turned up was Jess, and he had speakers and an amplifier. And that alone, we just said, right, okay, you're in, because you've got you've got the system.
But all that you need to sing. That's perfect. It's amazing.
And that was back in 1978.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because you released basically Wildcat, which is one of the most, we can say, considered by the fans important work on your career as well. And in 1980. So what about this work that you released? How, with the height of today, so with the knowledge you have today about music and of course your personal growth and maturity in the music field, how do you see these works back then?
It was a completely different time back then to what it is now. Was it better? In some respects it was. It was all the shows that we played when we started to make a name for ourselves were very, very well attended. And there was a reason for that. Because back then we had coal mines, we had the steel industry, we had shipyards, and these were all thriving businesses. And on a Friday, when the whistle blew in the yard, and everybody was going home, people wanted to kick back and they wanted to let their hair down and they wanted to go out and have a drink and have a good time and maybe take in a rock band or something like that. And punk was just kind of coming to an end. Disco was certainly around, but rock bands were playing in all the clubs. Whether it be working men's clubs or your local back room of a pub, anywhere you could set up, and you were playing. The place was full because all these people just wanted to come out and enjoy themselves, and I think there was a lot more. Gosh. Okay. I remember it with great great fervor, really. It just was. It was a very special time, and yet it's difficult to try and
Yeah,
describe it. You kind of
if you
one
have
of
to
those
live
awful
it.
expressions. You kind of had to be there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's
yeah,
true. And that's of course I can just imagine, but I can feel it and I live it because I wasn't there, of course. And a lot of people can. It's like like people when they say, "Oh, if I was born in the 80s, or if I was, for example, living in the 80s," but we can just imagine. We don't know how actually it was. So I was just, you have to live there, to live that period, to knowing.
yeah, it truly was something quite special. And we were very lucky because when we played this local school, after hours, and two pupils at the school had heard of us, and they'd asked their dad to come along and listen to us. And their dad owned a recording studio in our local area. And after the show, he came up and he met, because I had a friend of mine who asked, I said, will you manage us? And he said, well, what does that mean? And I said, well, ring up and get us, ring pubs up and clubs up and anybody up, and ask if we can play, And he said, yeah, I can do that. That's that. So he became our manager. He was very, very good at it. And he talked to this fella as well, called Dave Woods. And we were invited down to Dave's studio to record some of our original material, because when we play, unlike club bands who used to play covers of the day, we played about 5 covers in our set, and all the other songs were all
that
written.
was good. That was good because you have the interest of the people, but maybe you want to listen cover, but at the same time they are listening your own music. So
yeah, absolutely,
they can catch the sound. Yeah,
we chose when we did this little recording session. We chose one of the songs to be released as a single, and I think there was 1,000 pressed, which we thought, crikey, that's a heck of a lot of singles. Being very naive, and they sold within 3 days. So we had, I think, another 4,000 pressed, which we thought was an incredible amount, and they sold as well. And then MCA took a great interest in this little band from the far north of England, where Eskimos live, in a place called Newcastle upon Tyne. And when we signed our major recording deal in 1980, late 79, I think, to MCA, they pressed 50,000, and they all sold. So yeah, it was a very popular single, but of course it was very much helped by getting played on Tommy Vance's Friday Night Rock show. We did a session for Tommy Vance, and Sounds music paper. We were heavily featured in there as part of the new wave of British heavy metal movement.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, basically considered one of the most important, or the most important band that came from with this new wave British of heavy metal, because really you were at the beginning, at the top of it. So even before other huge bands that came up later, Tygers of Pan Tang. So basically you were the precursor of huge names. So being basically, I don't want to say like the godfather, but basically among the starters of this new wave British of heavy metal is an amazing thing, because I think all of the band were just like teenager, maybe in the 20s. How does it feel to be like how does it feel to be like at the time, like at the crowd and looking all like at the world, the future of that world is going to bring you, like having this
tremendous.
having this epitaph of being the pioneers almost of the new wave British heavy metal.
Yeah, well, Jeff Barton wrote about 4 bands to start with.
Yeah.
And they were Iron Maiden, they were Def Leppard, Saxon, and Tygers of Pan Tang.
Yeah.
So we were like the big 4, if you like, at the time. We all got signed around about the same sort of time, obviously all to different record companies. And then I think then the floodgates opened, and quite a few bands after us came after us that were signed. But we were definitely there launching, this new movement. Although we weren't really aware that we were new wave of British heavy metal until Jeff Barton wrote about it and coined the phrase.
The name.
We were, what it means by it, new wave of British heavy metal. So the old wave of British heavy metal were bands like Uriah Heep and Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple. So we were the new bands, starting then, if you like. So hence getting the name New Wave. The new intake, if you like. New kids on the block. Whatever expression you want to use.
Yes.
We were it. And of course, it started people talking.
Yeah, and here you are, of course. And of course, during all the career, which is like we said before, there is a lot of albums, but as well, it's like basically you had different, you can say, starts and stop. You can say different changing as well in the formation of the band and as well in the sound. So I don't want to say that maybe 3 major changes, because you come back in the middle of the 80s and then in the early, this we can say the new millennium times. I would say that in all of these changes, the reason, in your opinion, for example, if we can choose, for example, 3 albums that can take better the sound, incorporate better the sound of each period of the band. In your opinion, I mean, you are the fans of. If only you can say this better, not me. So for example, I never heard Tygers of Pan Tang, and I want to know the history of Tygers of Pan Tang, but starting from the beginning. So, for example, I choose this album from, I don't know, from the 70s, 80s, and then from the 90s, and then from new era.
Yeah, well, we've moved with technology, which you have to do, because you have to embrace technology. It's happening. It's there. So Wildcat, when we recorded Wildcat, I didn't realize how much how much punk is actually in that in that album. In my songwriting, it's so people tell me it's an iconic album back from that time. We've actually just a month ago re-recorded 2 songs from that album.
I heard it. Yeah.
Embracing technology and hopefully making them sound bigger and bolder. Anyway, we'll get to that. So you have that, and then Spellbound. We had a lineup change. And we got John Deverill, who was a very, very melodic, with a huge vocal range, vocalist, and John Sykes joined, of course. Which gave the band live more firepower.
Because he's a particular as well. He's considered one of a guitar hero as well, John Sykes, in his own way.
Absolutely. So the songwriting changed a little bit. It just maybe shaping the Tygers to what they are, to what they were to become, and to what they are today. there's no doubt about that Wildcat is a million miles away, really, from
Yeah,
Spellbound.
it's
You know,
evolving when
it's a different animal.
yeah.
It's a different tiger, shall
Yeah.
we say?
Yeah, there was a
Um,
baby cat. He had to grow up to become a tiger.
yeah, and that, then Crazy Nights. Has Crazy Nights, dear me. There's a whole story about Crazy Nights, which we haven't got time for. But Crazy Nights was released in this same year as Spellbound, which was madness, really. On the record company's
Yeah.
part, no band puts out 2 albums in 1 year, but we did.
Yeah.
And then John left, and John was replaced by Fred, and along came The Cage, which had quite a lot of songs on there that weren't written by the band, and I didn't like that. I didn't sign on for that. I signed on to write songs and to record songs, that were either written by me or written by me and John and Rocky, and Brian. And the record company wanted us to record songs from outside the band, from songwriters. And I said, why? I can't understand, because the songs that we've written on the albums that have come out, Wildcat charted at 13, Spellbound charted at 18.
Why change that?
Why? I mean, The Cage did very well, which was other people's songs.
Yeah,
so when it came around to the 5th album, we'd written mainly Fred actually had come up with a 5th album, and I remember we went down to the record company and played it to them in their boardroom, and they said, "Oh, well, this is we like this. Is very good," but and then they pushed 10 songs in front of us, all by outside songwriters. And I said, I don't want to do that. And they said, well, that's what we want you to do. And I stood up at that point in the meeting. I remember, like it was yesterday, I stood up and said, I'm not doing it. The band either plays, that you either record our songs or I'm out. And the guy from the record company, I can't remember who it was exactly, he said, "You'll jeopardize if you take this stance. You'll jeopardize your recording contract." And I said, and turned around and walked out.
Yeah,
and that was it. So whether that was very brave or very foolhardy,
I think it was more coherent. It was more coherent with your own, and I think your attitude is to be taken like an example for, especially for the youngest. We can take this small, why did you say this experience? Because one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, like, for example, an advice to the new generation musician, and I think this could be a good advice, like to be true to themselves, because a lot of labels and company outside there, they are always trying to do, you have to wear this, you have to do this, you have to do that. And if you're true with yourself, I think that people will understand better. So after, I think, especially the new musician, if they listen, what did you say from you, it's something that they can stick better in their head, because I'm trying to tell them, not saying by the icon, by the icon like you. I think it's a good advice for the new musician of the new bands out there.
It is absolutely. I don't know. If you're just going to play other people's songs, then you're obviously not aspiring to become anything. It's just a job. So you pick a guitar up, you learn somebody else's song, you go that night to a pub or a club, play it, you get paid whatever you get paid, a wage, and you come home and that's it. And that's your career. That's all you'll ever do.
Yeah. Yes.
The other side of the coin is for young musicians is you write your own songs, you record your own songs, and you give it a good go. You go out there and you try and convince people
Yeah.
that these are great songs and this is what they should be listening to.
Yeah, and
Um, and if you can think of um, of an angle of a what I mean by that is of something slightly different,
yeah,
like bands have done, like Kiss with makeup, like Rammstein with fire, flamethrowers and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
explosions and fire, just something, something a bit, something different.
Yeah, that's why as well.
It
And
hasn't
yeah,
it hasn't all been done. There are still things that you can come up with.
as well, I'm noticing
Um,
that a lot of bands are coming back to the like to the simplicity as well. Like for example, playing in the nature, being more among the nature. So basically, going back to the past. Because like a sort of, we can say like a revival of Woodstock, for example, we can say like of that way of living, because everything is being, like you said, they are trying to copy, they are on idol, which is, I think, like, to beginning it's okay, but if you really love, you have a personality. Every one of us has a personality. So if you're a musician or composer, just put that on game. Everyone will always notice you. Will be that person, that guys, that girl, that bands as well, that will love what you're doing, and maybe will start to, I don't know, booking you to start to like happen for you. For example, just saying, can you want come and record in my studio? And I think that's really, there are like as well a lot of things that are being and I mean discovered yet. But of course, it's always about up to the people. Especially we have the social media. We have a lot of new possibilities today that there wasn't before. And I don't know if it is a good or not. In your opinion, if it's good or not, because I mean, I've born in the 80s, but so I lived with the technology. So I, for you, it's better being in a band today, or was better being in a band back
um, I've enjoyed every one of the 43 years that I've been in the Tigers. Good, bad.
then?
Back then, now it's
Yeah.
it's like asking a parent to choose their favorite child.
But as yeah,
I've loved it all and embraced it all, and seen changes and seen things happen.
yeah,
Some for the better and some for the worse.
yeah, always,
Sometimes progress
yeah.
is actually taking a step backwards. Um,
That's a good.
as much as you think it's you're going forward, sometimes you aren't.
Yeah, that's true.
But we haven't played live since March 2020.
Yeah, we are going
Well,
through that because there is new tour I read going on. Because
there's
that,
a lot.
yeah,
There's a
that's
lot
what
of
I wanted
shows.
to know
Yes.
about today. So about the last years, because as far as I know, there is an Italian on the band, like there is really amazing. So how, for example, this how is I mean, of course it's a human being, but how is playing with an Italian? He brought some music, some, I don't know, his personal perspective or sound, and how much has evolved within the band as well.
Um, the things that, well, yeah, as technology moves on, things things evolve,
Yes,
and
of course.
from your guitar amplifiers and speakers to the sound systems, and lighting systems. And I've seen from back from 1978, the sound systems then to what they are now,
Yeah.
is a huge difference. Um, back then nobody wore ear defenders, and now people want you to wear. You can't play over a certain noise
Yeah.
level in
Yeah,
a
it's
in a
true.
club,
Yeah.
but you could back then.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
um, we we're just desperate to play. Last year was not wasted by any means. Last year
Yeah, of course.
2021, we recruited a new guitar player. I've written an album with them, which is we're busy recording at the moment.
Okay.
I've never met him, Francesco Maras. He's an
Okay.
Italian from Sardinia. He lives near
Hmm.
Dusseldorf. He's a tremendous guitar player.
Yeah.
One of the best that I've ever heard, without a shadow of a doubt.
Mhm.
Plays lovely, lovely guitar. We've tried to fly him over about 3 times, and the UK's had restrictions, or
Yeah.
Germany's had restrictions.
Yeah.
So I'll meet him. It's a completely bizarre situation. So I'll meet him for the first time on the 19th of May, when
Wow.
we have 2 days rehearsals in Madrid before we do a headline show.
So basically, you will have the rehearsal and then you go straight to the shows.
Absolutely.
So and all this through these deity gigs that you book, that basically it's long gigs go around, because I read some dates and was like, okay, well, they will be in Italy as well perhaps, but anyway I will catch you in some countries, it's not a problem. And how do you feel back into the scene after all this year of lockdown, being strict in the restriction? I mean, we spoke about this with anyone about lockdown, so just take it away. Now, let's say, how do you feel to back in the scene, to back in the stage? Where do you belong,
Uh,
man?
well, do you know? I think there'll be, for the first 10 seconds. I think there'll be a slight extra tingle, of anticipation,
Yeah,
because we played probably virtually every month, for the past 20 years.
yeah, of course.
Um, I started again in 2000, so 22, 20, yeah,
Yeah,
21, yeah, however long it is, because we've
20
had
year
2 years
almost.
off.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's gonna feel strange, but magical again.
yeah, that
The
would be
the
amazing.
the 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 very exciting part for me is we have an intro which plays before we come on stage, as a lot of bands do. Our intro is about 2 minutes,
Okay.
15 seconds or something, um, and it's designed to get the audience in the mood, shall we say.
Wow.
It's there's a lot of thought gone into it, and it's quite cleverly put together. But that's and I love it. I absolutely love it. When it goes on, that's when I start doing my little happy dance.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
and check me guitars on, and then of course when we're into the we've changed the live set around.
Okay.
So we're starting with a song that we've never. In fact, the band hasn't played Fire Clown. We started opening up with Fire Clown, and Fire Clown was on the Wildcat album in 1980, and I don't think we've played Fire Clown for 40 years.
My
So
word. It's
we
like
so
really
yeah,
something
so
blowing out,
it,
blowing the mind
it's
away.
it's something that I wanted to re-record, actually, which is what we have done,
Yeah.
and it's on the new EP, A
Yeah,
New
yeah,
Heartbeat.
yeah. Yeah, yes, yes.
So the little secret there, if anybody's coming to Madrid, get your camera phone ready.
Because it would be like the first time after long years, so it would be like really a
Yeah,
piece of history for will be for every every fans that will be there with a really camera or camera with a phone, we can say, with a phone, something like that. So, and speaking about, because before going to end the interview, I usually do 2 questions about influences, but I will try to put it as one. I want to know about your just to pick five musician or album, anything that about music that influenced you as Rob in all your career, and as well as you as musician, just as man, as a human being. So even personally, not only like how you play or you perform.
Um, I don't. I'm a bit strange because I don't really have any guitar heroes.
No, I can say
Um,
even just bands that maybe
yeah,
like that you started to love that music because of them, for example.
yeah. Well, Glenn Tipton out of Judas Priest. I
Okay,
always thought he played some very nice guitar solos.
okay,
I've always liked Mick Box out of
okay.
Uriah Heep. I remember going back to see them 72, 73 at Newcastle City Hall, and he used to play several guitar solos on his wah-wah pedal, and I loved that. I always thought
Nice.
that was I really did, really did get that.
Yeah.
Um, Robin Trower, I always liked a bit of Robin Trower and Pat Travers. Early stuff. Bands theatrically, Sensational Alex Harvey band were tremendous, with the wonderful late Alex Harvey fronting them.
Mm.
With all because he was an actor before he was in the band,
So
and
he
he,
had
he was in the West End stage play called Hair, which was a very famous play in the 60s, where they all took their clothes off
yeah,
and
yeah,
ran
yeah, yeah,
around, and it was kind of flower power and all that sort of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But live, his band was they were just tremendous. You had
Okay.
Zal, who was the clown on the guitar. Clown, as in not in a circus clown, of course. Clown, as in that was his persona. A
Yes.
great guitar player. Just the whole package was really cleverly put together, and they wrote great songs.
That's nice.
So I always admired them. I always thought they were very good. Gosh, Nazareth, Heavy Metal Kids. Yeah, so many, so many.
Yeah, yeah. But if you have, for example, this is always speaking about your personal experience. One memory is just one memory. It's about some live concert or some gigs that you remember really, like you feel that, for example, you lived yesterday because it's always in your heart.
Well, one of the memories which
Yeah,
has stayed with me,
yeah.
when I get asked this particular question, was one of the occasions I went to see AC/DC at the Newcastle Mayfair, and I was standing with the young lad who was doing the on-stage sound, so not the front of house sound. So he's called a monitor man. So he makes sure that all the wedge monitors are giving the musicians what they want to hear. So the standing with him, you're looking across the stage, rather, and the performers are performing like, I don't know. It's a bit weird to try and explain it. Anyway, so Bon Scott would come on and sing the verse and the chorus, and when it was Angus's guitar solo, he would walk towards us, walk around the side of all the speakers, the guitar speakers, and stand behind them. And behind them was one of his roadies, who had a torch, passed him a bottle of whiskey, and he would take 3 or 4 gulps neat of whiskey, do 10 press-ups, and then walk back round and do his next bit. And he did that for the whole show. He did that all night for the whole show.
Wow. He was still there.
Drank a
Wow.
whole bottle of whiskey. And I
It's
just thought,
amazing.
oh my, I don't know how he did it.
Yeah.
But that's, I was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, that's an amazing something to experience to live because you're seeing, but of course, you're speaking of one of the greatest band ever existed. So being able to see them for who saw them, especially maybe at the beginning over in the, would say, when they were maybe at the most with all of them. Was something amazing to see and as well to experience. And we already speak about the current project, but there is something like an album, something you're thinking about to work and for the following years.
So say again, sorry.
Some albums that you're thinking to work or release. Just only what you can say. So just if you're thinking to release some albums in the next year.
Oh, I see. Right. Yes. So the EP, the 4-track EP is out, and there is a video on YouTube. It's called A New Heartbeat, and A New Heartbeat. The track A New Heartbeat will be one of the tracks on the new album, and we're recording another 9 tracks to go on a 10-track album. Plus, there will be bonus tracks, which will all be new songs, and we're going to record. We're currently recording at the moment. And the album, I would think, will be out January 2023.
Okay, so just as like a prediction. Okay, that's perfect. So we will hear a new Tygers of Pan Tang, we can say, sound, basically. That's amazing, because as well it's like an incredible journey. All these years you've done with all this music, basically you saw the born of the heavy metal and until today, which is something of incredible. You played through all this period, and I think that everyone in the world, like as a new band, would be like praying for playing with you. And for that, before just saying goodbye, just leaving a message to all your fans, I want to just, if you could just give a greetings to one is a band that is from United Kingdom. They are heavy metal, and I would call the third wave of British heavy metal. They are called Tailgunner. They are amazing, and they are young, and they are going all around the United Kingdom to really, it's the purest heavy metal. Between all this extreme metal right now, when I heard that for the first time, I was, still exist those guys that won't play clean vocals. So if you just can say greetings to them, I know that we will be really happy to hear that from you, because they are really fan of you.
Did you say they're called Tailgunner?
Yeah, exactly.
Tailgunner. Do you know, I think I've heard of them.
Yeah, they are going really good right now.
I think I do, yeah. Well, yes, Rob from the Tygers saying hi to the boys from Tailgunner, and carry on doing what you're doing, and hopefully we'll meet on the road.
Yeah, and especially greetings to the one is really your biggest fans. The one is with me on Poison Rock. The one that basically wrote all the questions, and the one is behind every music, and the one who especially introduced myself to your music, who is Domenico. Is a really Domenico. Yes, yeah. Greetings to him. That you're really pleased to hear that from you.
Okay, it's Domenico.
Yeah.
Yep. Hi, Domenico. Again, Rob from the Tygers. Thank you very much for your questions. It's been a pleasure answering them, and I hope to see you soon at a show.
So, last message. It seems like we're leaving all the messages. Last message is for your fan, for Tygers of Pan Tang fan, and for everyone who's watching our videos. This interview.
Oh my gosh, the fans are the most important part of the whole process, because with no fans there would be no band, there would be no point in carrying on. So it as always, a massive thank you and shout out to all the fans. And I really hope to see as many of you as possible at the shows. And we're very big on meet and greet, the Tygers. We're very friendly big cats, we don't bite. So we'd love to see you after the show, maybe for a glass of wine and a chat.
That's amazing. So, Rob, thank you so much. I will let you know through the Will Be a Lotto channel when the interview will be out. And I hope to see, for sure, we will see some live, and maybe we'll have a glass of wine and speaking about the new music and the whole music and anyway, and whatever.
Perfect.
So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the day, and good luck for coming back in the scene. It was a
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
It was a pleasure. Bye.
with the gold cat tooth.